Yes, Gwen Lee. This is a weird dating site. Indeed. All right, let's move on to some climate change news. Since it's so goddamn late. Um, this is pretty interesting. Oregon fire marshal departs amid wildfire destruction. The fire marshal of Oregon has resigned Saturday, as wildfires continue to rage there and in other western states. Marshal Jim Walker submitted a resignation letter to the superintendent of the Oregon State Police after he was placed on paid administrative leave. Basically, they were not happy with his response to the fires, but I guess you got to blame somebody, but but we're not going to blame the politicians that let climate change continue apace. We're not going to blame the politicians that allowed fracking and oil wells and bad environmental policy to continue. We're not going to blame those people, but we'll just take out the fire marshal. I mean, maybe he wasn't doing a good job. I don't know. Found that to be an interesting story. This is from Jim Baird. Meanwhile, over the past 2 weeks, Bangladesh, Afghanistan, Pakistan, Niger, Sudan, and South Sudan have all experienced unprecedented heavy flooding. 160 dead in Afghanistan and Pakistan. 281,000 people affected by flooding in Niger. 650,000 in Sudan. Just quickly going to look at this. It's still fairly smoky here, guys, by the way. I'm going to do a quick update on that. But it's not as smoky as it was the last couple of days, but there's, definitely a lot of smoke in the air. You can see it, you can breathe it, you can feel it, you can taste it. This is from Relief Web. As freak flooding affects hundreds of thousands in some of the world's poorest countries, Islamic Relief UK asks the British Muslim community to call on the Prime Minister to act urgently for a healthy, greener, fairer tomorrow. Well, that sounds nice. Hope we get there. Following weeks of intense flooding in some of the world's poorest countries, Islamic Relief UK is calling on the British Muslim community. Over the past 2 weeks, countries in which the faith-inspired aid agency operates, including Bangladesh, Afghanistan, Pakistan, Niger, Sudan, and South Sudan, have all experienced unprecedented heavy flooding. Can we say climate change? I know I was channeling Hambone there for a second. In recent weeks, extreme flooding, which has been linked to climate change, has left a whole lot of people dead. I already read off these statistics. So that is happening. In Zimbabwe, I believe Chigozi sent me this. Zimbabwe's second city turns to sewer water as pipes run dry. This has been an ongoing story. Zimbabwe experiencing extreme drought and lack of water. Zimbabwe's second largest city is considering recycling water from a dam polluted with sewage because it can no longer supply its 650,000 inhabitants with running water. Bulawayo's municipality wants to make use of the Kami Dam, where the water is of an unacceptable standard, said Sikumbuzo Nkube, the city's engineering services deputy director. The reservoir on the western outskirts of the city has also been sullied by runoff from farms and factories. The city, southwest of the capital of Harare, is trying to alleviate the effects of the drought that has limited it to turning on the taps just once a week. 3 of its 6 reservoirs aren't currently in use because water levels are too low and the others are less than 25% full. While it's feasible to purify water polluted with sewage, Zimbabwe, which is in a state of economic collapse, doesn't have a good track record in supplying potable water. When available, piped water is already of a poor standard. Council is failing to purify dam water. How can they claim to purify sewage water? Said Emmanuel Ndlovu, Coordinator of the Bulawayo Progressive Residents Association. Initial assessments show the water is safe to use and it will be purified to get rid of bacteria and pollutants, the city's public relations department said in response to the questions. All right. All right for public relations. Everything's fine. Don't worry, we're going to take care of the problem. We're public relations. Go ahead, citizens of Flint. Drink the water. My name's Barack Obama. Look, I'm drinking some now. Let's hear it for public relations. You too can have a bright future in the world of public relations. And you can take these classes online. You know what I'm saying? Public relations, my boy. Public relations. Poppy Davis, here comes the water wars, indeed. Thank you, Muzza. Thank you for being here. Osama. I don't know if I was channeling Zappa or not. Yes, Zappa doing his public relations voice. Right. Let's move on. Jimmy Dore has alluded to this story, as a few other sites have. Sites have as well. Have you all heard this? Oregon can't fight wildfires because its helicopters were sent to Afghanistan. What? Many of Oregon's largest firefighting aircraft are not available because the Department of Defense has sent them to Afghanistan to fight in the 20-year-old war. Again, whether Trump says he doesn't like regime change war or says that we want to get out of Afghanistan or not, and I don't know that it's necessarily his doing, but, the Department of Defense felt it necessary to send these helicopters to Afghanistan, because Afghanistan is so important, right? There's terror and stuff, terrorists and stuff, or poppies. Did somebody say poppies? More than 500,000 Oregonians have been forced to flee their homes as wildfires continue to ravage the west coast of the United States. Amid record-breaking temperatures, the wildfires, which have charred 1 million acres of land, have caused the sky to turn a terrifying shade of red, with many comparing it to Mars, hell, or the apocalypse. Air quality in Portland, the state's largest city, is currently the lowest in the world, below even that of infamously polluted cities like Delhi and Beijing. That is some heavy pollution, right? Because Delhi and Beijing, you don't really want to breathe in the air there. You ever heard the saying, don't drink the water? Yeah, don't breathe the air, is what they're going to have to say now about certain places. I'm going to Beijing. Awesome. Don't breathe the air. The state's Democratic governor, Kate Brown, did not mince words when advising what to do. Get the hell out, she told her fellow Oregonians. While Brown described the fires as unprecedented, she also warned that they will not be a one-time event. Unfortunately, it is a bellwether of the future, she said. We are seeing the devastating effects of climate change in Oregon on the entire West Coast and throughout the world. Firefighters are having a great deal of trouble dealing with blazes of this size and ferocity, despite receiving support from the rest of the country. A group of Mexican firefighters also arrived in the state yesterday, keen to help their American compatriots. One major reason they are having such difficulties combating the blazes, the Portland Tribune noted deep in one article, is that many of the state's largest firefighting aircraft are not available because the Department of Defense has sent them to Afghanistan to fight in a 20-year-old war. 6 Chinook helicopters, for example, have been redeployed to the Asian nation critically undermining both rescue and firefighting missions at home. Holy crikey. The Defense Department's decision is the latest example of the skewed priorities of the U.S. government when it comes to protecting its citizens. More than twice as many people have already died in California alone from the summer's wildfires than Americans in Afghanistan all year. How's that for irony? The occupation of Afghanistan will turn 20 years old next month, and with troops removals being blocked. Why are they being blocked? Well, we could go into that. We don't have time. Shows no sign of coming. They're saying they're being blocked. By whom? Who's blocking them? Shows no sign of coming to an end soon. Even before the latest increase, the United States military budget already rivaled that of the rest of the world combined. In July, both Congress and Senate rejected a bill calling for a modest rejection. That's who's blocking it. Got that? Do you guys got that? Congress and Senate. Congress is majority Democrat. Senate is majority Republican. So that was a bipartisan effort, right? A bipartisan effort by our so-called resistance and, joining forces with the so-called, evil mongrels of the Republican Party. They rejected a bill calling for a modest reduction in defense spending, overwhelmingly voting against it. Yeah, vote blue no matter who, bro. Vote blue, bro. Yeah, they're going to save us. Vote Democrat, and only good things will happen. We're going to fight these fires and the climate crisis because vote blue, bro. Vote blue. When the government could have done what the government could have done to improve the country with the savings is considerable. The National Priorities Project calculated that a 10% cut in military spending would be enough to end homelessness in America. Fund free college for 2 million students. Convert the U.S. to renewable energy. Hire 900,000 new teachers, or send more $1,200 checks to every American. I'm going to read that again. 10% of the military budget, right? I believe that Bernie Sanders was for this, but the rest of the Democrats were like, nah, we're good. The National Priorities Project calculated that a 10% cut in military spending would be enough to end homelessness in America, fund free college for 2 million students, convert the U.S. to renewable energy, hire 900,000 new teachers, or send more $1,200 checks, two more $1,200 checks to every American. Golly gee, but no, we can't do that. No, we can't do that because all the Republicans and Trump and Nancy Pelosi and Chuck Schumer and all those good-hearted liberal Democratic types in the Congress and all those really patriotic GOPers in the Senate. While Oregon is among the hardest hit, but remember, there's a lot of Democrats in the Senate too. There are also some Republicans in Congress as well. While Oregon is among the hardest hit states across the western United States are feeling the impact of colossal wildfires. In Washington state, more acres were burned on Monday alone than in 12 of the past 18 years of forest fires, according to Governor Jay Inslee, with the large majority of the state under a red flag warning. That's all I'm going to read of that. I think we got to the meat of that story. The meat of that story is... No, they're not so afraid of Trump that they agreed to give him the largest. No, they're not so afraid of Trump. They could have stood up to him. They could have done something. They could have said no. They didn't even, there wasn't even a feigning of like, no, we don't like this. Here you go. So, yeah. Also remember that California is a supermajority Democratic state. And there are a few other states like that as well. Overwhelmingly majority Democratic state. And, you know, are we doing, Governor Newsom is handing out fracking permits left and right. Here you go. Have some fracking, guys. I care about climate change. Have some fracking. Handing out oil permits. Here you go. Have some oil drilling. I care about climate change. Have some oil drilling. Do we have Medi-Cal for all in California? We do not. You know why? Because Democrats voted against it. Vote blue. Vote blue. Anyways, lastly, in today's episode of Oh My Effing God, what the hell is going on? This is from September 10th. The Arctic is burning like never before, and that's bad news for climate change. Let's read on. Fires are releasing record levels of carbon dioxide, partly because they are burning ancient peatlands that have been a carbon sink. Wildfires blazed along the Arctic Circle this summer, incinerating tundra, blanketing Siberian cities in smoke, and capping the second extraordinary fire season in a row. By the time the fire season waned at the end of last month, the blazes had emitted a record 244 megatons of carbon dioxide. That's 35% more than last year. 35% more than last year, which also set records. One culprit, scientists say, could be peatlands that are burning as the top of the world melts. Peatlands are carbon-rich soils that accumulate as waterlogged plants slowly decay, sometimes over thousands of years. They are the most carbon-dense ecosystems on Earth. A typical northern peatland packs in roughly 10 times as much carbon as a boreal forest. When peat burns, it releases its ancient carbon to the atmosphere, adding to the heat-trapping gases that cause climate change. Nearly half of the world's peatland stored carbon lies between 60 and 70 degrees north along the Arctic Circle. The problem with this is that historically frozen carbon-rich soils, which are now not frozen, are expected to thaw as the planet warms. Many of them have already thawed, making them even more vulnerable to wildfires and more likely to release large amounts of carbon or catch on fire. It's a feedback loop. As peatlands release more carbon, global warming increases, which thaws more peat and causes more wildfires. See, peatlands burning. A study published last month shows that northern peatlands could eventually shift from being a net sink for carbon to a net source of carbon, further accelerating climate change. The unprecedented Arctic wildfires of 2019 and 2020 show that transformational shifts are already underway, says Thomas Smith, an environmental geographer at the London School of Economics and Political Science. Alarming is the right term. Zombie fires. The fire season in the Arctic kicked off unusually earlier this year. As early as May, there were fires blazing north of the tree line in Siberia, which normally wouldn't happen until around July. And in decades past, there was a time when that wouldn't happen at all. Right? Why? Because permafrost. One reason is that temperatures in winter and spring were warmer than usual, priming the landscape to burn. It's also possible that peat fires have been smoldering beneath the ice and snow all winter and then emerged zombie-like in the spring as the snow melted. Scientists have shown that this kind of low-temperature flameless combustion can burn in peat and other organic matter such as coal for months or even years. Because of the early start, individual Arctic wildfires have been burning for longer than usual, and they're starting much farther north than they used to in landscapes that we thought were fire-resistant rather than fire-prone. That's right. There was a time where these places were fire-resistant. There weren't wildfires because it was too effing cold. And there was too much water. There was too much permafrost. There were too many things in the way for fires to even start. Researchers are now assessing just how bad this Arctic fire season was. The Russian wildfire remote monitoring system cataloged 18,591 separate fires. In Russia's two easternmost district, with a total of nearly 14 million hectares burnt, said Evgeny Shvetsov, a fire specialist at the Sukachev Institute of Forest, which is part of the Russian Academy of Sciences in Krasnoyarsk, or Krasnoyarsk. Most of the burning happened in permafrost zones where the ground is normally frozen year round. Yeah. So that's happening, guys. Hey guys, remember to like, share, and subscribe, and you can support the channel. The links below, PayPal, Patreon, Square. Also, if you'd like to watch the live streams, you can watch the live streams on my Patreon channel. You can subscribe for as little as $1. So hopefully I will see you over there, and thanks so much.